Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So, so this session we have is actually the environment and interior. But before I start, okay, one question. Who cannot understand Cantonese? Okay, so we have, then I will use English, okay? Because I was told that, some everywhere else is using Cantonese and everything. But the thing is, to start off with, self-introduction, okay? I'm Dr. Sky, okay? I'm also from environment and interior, okay? I'm actually architecture background, but I'm actually now working more on virtual reality and all this kind of digital spatial design. And that's why right now I'm in scope design in these disciplines to work on a lot more variety of things, okay? So, and also one more thing is that I'm a local born Singaporean, okay? So I'm actually holding a Singapore passport. I served the national service in Singapore, okay? I went through the army for 2 years. But the idea is that right now, okay, not that scary lah, okay? But the thing is, it will have a very different kind of environment. For environment interior, we have all the tutors from other different countries as well. So it will be a very, very international kind of environments for you. So what is environment interior? So first thing is, we have to welcome, I believe you have been going to a lot of other different places. There are talks somewhere in parallel in the other rooms, which tells you, come to School of Design. But in environment interior, it's a very different kind of experience which you are going to have, okay? So before going into environment interior, we have to give a bit more background on the School of Design. Why School of Design? We have the world renowned facilities. The fact that you are now in this building, is designed by architects called Zaha Hadid. I think some of you know, most of you know. Okay, so it's a very famous architecture, female architects, who actually designed this building. So the fact that you come in, you actually experience a very different way how building is. Okay, because everything is actually slanted instead of straight. Okay, so it is a very different experience. And then we have our print shop, which is the thing is, what is so big deal about the digital print shop? If you work in environment interior, you are not printing A3, you are not printing in A2. No, A3 and A4. You are printing in A1 and A0. Okay, it's big drawings. So you are not just looking at drawings at this, paper scale. It is literally big drawings where you have to look at layouts, you have to look at how to narrate your space, you have to draw plans in scale, you have very, very a lot of details which have to be clear. So we have our print shop. If not, if you go outside and print, it's very troublesome. So yeah, because of this, we have to have our own print shop to save people, students from BID. And then yes, we have our Material Resource Center. Material Resource Center is a very different idea in BID. Okay? So the idea is that it's not about materials of objects. We are looking at materials of buildings. And you will see that right now when you look at materials for building, it's very different from objects. Okay? Because the materials have to look at structures. Okay? Like your tables. You are going to lean on your tables. You are going to sit on your chair. But the thing is, it's not going to hold one person. It's going to hold tons of people. How does the material actually withstand, the structure of people? And then it also have to withstand weather. Okay? So you will see that if the material you choose is not good, it will actually weather in a very fast manner, such that the building doesn't last long. So this Material Resource Center actually gives you also a lot more information, and we see this resource center in a very, very different way. Okay? And then of course we have our Fat Lab. We are now looking at 3D modeling. Later I will show you more examples of what this Fat Lab will do. We are now working a lot on 3-dimensional. Okay? And 3-dimensional is not just object as well. It's a huge model of space. And you are looking at and imagining the space in a very scaled manner. Okay? So the thing is, we are all students. During your studying, you are not going to, if you have the chance, it's good. But most of the time we don't have the opportunity to actually build the 1:1 building. Okay, so most of the time we actually use scaled models. Okay, 1:50, 1:100, and with that we actually use Fat Lab to actually do 3D printing. We actually use it to actually create our scaled model. Okay, so this is the kind of facilities which we always and usually need to be there to help us in our production. And then we have our production workshops, which also serve the same thing, 3D printing, and photography studio. Okay, photography studio is also very important. Why? For environmental and interior people, okay? For students, where we actually serve the space, the surrounding environment around us, photography is a very important thing. To the extent where when we actually look at your portfolio, if you have some kind of photography skill, it helps, okay? Because we want to understand how you take photography. If you understand the logic of photography, the understand of this tree, the law of tree, you know, this ratio, and you know how you actually integrate the surrounding with the objects. So there's a lot of all this understanding which you have to know. And with that, this photography studio will help you in also taking photograph of your models, you know, take photograph of portraits and everything. So the photography studio is something which we also use it quite often. Okay? Media production. Okay, yes. So right now we are not just looking at space. We are looking at movable space. We are looking at walkthroughs. Okay? Just a show of hand, who play games here? Don't act. I know. Yes, play games. I mean, come on, we are now living in the digital era. At least mobile phones, you have games, right? Really, don't play games? Oh, come on. You are just too shy. Okay. I have like 100 games as my mobile phone, okay? That is real. I'm a professor and I still play games. Okay, so the idea is that you want to understand that. Later I will tell you why it is important. You know, playing games is not a bad thing right now. It's actually a very important thing. So the idea is that you need to understand all the video production. You need to understand how things happen. You know, when you play games, how is games being produced? Okay? And when I say games, you don't just look at the playing games. You look at just the production as well, but you also look at the space of how the game is being designed. Okay? So why add environment interior? I mean, the fact that you sit here, that means you have a certain choice. You already have some kind of curiosity. You know, why is this, what is environment interior? And then you have a certain understanding of what is environment and interior, okay? This, you know, in our sense in here is that we are trying to simulate creative space. We are trying to create space through different kind of methodology. We are trying to create space in a very different means, such that it's not just, there's a certain difference between how we actually create space and architecture, okay? I'm from architecture as well, so I can actually give a lecture, but you only have 30 minutes, so I'm not going to go deep too deep into it. But the fact that we are trying to create space in a very creative manner, in a very different way, is how we want this EID to be. And you know, the fact that we have our course of study for environment and interior, I believe you actually already know that in School of Design, we started off with foundation year, okay? But here, right now, we look at the environment designs cluster, okay? So for first year, you know, it's the foundation year where you actually learn everything. And then from there, you know, if you choose environment design, you will go to year 2, where it's basically just environment designs as a whole. And then in year 3, which is where I belong, I'm actually a year 3 coordinator, okay? That's where, you know, you will actually start to split into environment and interior. Okay? And then from there, based on your specialisms, you will do a capstone. So how does this 4 years actually happen? Okay? From environment interior, the first year, you know, it's all about design thinking and iterative process. Okay? You are learning how to design, you know, constantly and changing. So design doesn't come like, oh, I have this design. I do this design, that's it, done. No, it's impossible. Okay? There's no one design where you come out and that's it done. You will have to go through a lot of iteration process. You know, tutors will give you all kinds of comments, your friends will give you comments, you will have to do a lot of research, you have to get a lot of information to prove and evaluate that your design is the best design in your perspective. Okay? You are the designer. And that's where the design thinking and iteration process starts in year 1. And then in year 2, that's where you come to environment design, right? And that's where you start off with very industrial standards, topological study, you know, where you start to understand how and what information and what medium we use to translate space, floor plans, section, elevation, isometric, perspective. I believe these are some of the words which you might understand, some of you might not. But even if you understand, you know how to draw it. Okay? Do you know that every line you draw means a lot of different things? Thick lines, thin lines, dotted lines. Okay? All the lines you draw in a plant will actually convey a certain messages of how the space works. Because that's where the 2D information becomes very important to portray the three-dimensional informations we have. Okay? And that's where year 2 becomes something. Because that's the foundation of EID. Without that, you have no idea how to actually communicate your design and communicate spatial design. Okay? Good. Once year 3 is done, that's where year 3 comes. And that's where I comes in. And that's where the fun begins. Okay? And year 3 is where you look into virtual and narrative space. This is the part where you start to engage with all kinds of technology. Okay? I'm going to teach you how to design algorithmically. You are going to learn design by coding. Okay? But the coding is not computer science coding. That's the good thing. There is this thing called the pictorial coding, where you actually learn this thing called the grasshopper. It's not the jumping little insects. Okay? And then we have Rhino 3D. It's a 3D modeling building tools. Grasshopper is a way to actually learn a kind of called parametric design. And parametric design is where and how this building is built. Okay? Zaha Hadid is famous for parametric design. Okay? You look at all her building, all her design everywhere else in Shenzhen and everything. It's all about curves, it's all about organic dynamic shape. I mean, normal people in the past, it's impossible to build it. Okay? But if you want to digitally model it, okay, you need parametric tools. Okay? And building and designing the 3D model is one thing. If you want to give this model to a construction company to build it, that's a totally different story. Everything needs to be quantified. You need everything to have numbers. Every dimension should be clear. Okay? So that's where, you know, the digital tools become very important. Okay, this is one thing. The second thing is that that's where the virtual comes in. We are not living in this, you know, digital era. We have mobile phones. Who have played VR before? Yeah, some nodding their head lah. Okay. Okay, so VR is something which is more and more into our daily life. Okay, even glasses is coming. Later I will show you. So the idea is that how are we going to look at our space with all the digital things? Okay? Right now there's so many digital tools coming out. How are we going to understand our space in such a different manner? Digital tools is very important. And that's where year 3 is that I will expose you to all kinds of technology and how all these different technology will actually help you in your design process. Helps is a very easy way, but trust me, it's going to confuse you. Okay? And that's where we need time for you to digest, to understand. Okay, once you put all these things, and that's where year 4 becomes independent self-direction. That's where your capstone comes in. That's where you are the one to actually give us a direction. What you want to do, what you want to actually build in your final year projects. And we, as a tutor, will actually guide you. Okay? You want to create some fancy kind of things, but you don't know how. Okay? All the different skill sets previously will actually teach you how to do it. Okay? So this is year 1. You know, so all this information is inside. So year 1, you can see from the images, okay, it's a bit small. It's all about pure, very simple geometries, and using this geometry, it actually goes into all the different kind of iterations to understand what is the space, what is light and shadow, you know, what is all these different kind of things. And then from there, that's where you see all the industrial drawings start to come in. That's where the plan section elevation start to work. How to do isometric 3D modeling. And then you have to do all these digital models in physical form as well. You need to know how to do physical models. And then year 3 is you can see start to have all the images start to go crazy. You know, start to have all this very dynamic, very organic kinds of modeling, because the fact that you start with digital tools, you have more freedom. Okay, you have more capability of designing something more, you know, dynamics. And then the year 4 is all about big projects, about really issues of real life. You are doing things, we are creating space in the physical world in a way where we want to design things to actually enhance the environment. We want to enhance and change and improve our people's life. So the idea is that during year 4, you are going to find your own issues, you are going to find your own problems, and then you try to actually engage with it. Okay, so in all here for, we actually engage in a very research-based design. Okay, so design is not about just saying, I like this. Okay? You like something. It's okay. That's a starting point. Okay? But from a design point of view, you have to understand where is the design comes from, where's the problem. How do you actually iterate it? How do you evaluate it? And that's where the research comes in. You have to do precedent study. You have to understand how the world works in the first place. You have to understand how other architects and other designers works in the first place. Okay? From there, you actually find your own direction. That's where you have to do all the research. And then from there, we have all the diversity, independence, and we look into physicality and, importantly, spatial design. And then, this is something which we, try to sell ourselves. From EID, our students usually actually get admitted into all these international schools from Canal, the AA school. So you can see that those are all the schools even in architecture background. Okay, so don't think about this as just an interior school. Okay, we are not looking at just teaching interior. We are actually training you to think something much bigger, so that you are more flexible in a sense where after you graduate, if you want to go into architecture, you can do that. Okay, and we have a lot of successful examples. And then, our students actually has won quite a lot of design awards. Almost every year we have students winning awards. Okay, using our, all these designs, in interior design, smart design. So we are not looking at just design. Okay, we are also looking at technology, how the space and technology actually happens to actually help, this. And these are some of the examples which we do. And then we have figures where we have, most of the students, literally like 84% can manage to find employment after they graduate. Okay, so if your concern is about finding a job, should be fine. It's okay. We will definitely help you in that as well. And then, some of them actually find in business service, real estate, constructions, and now we are actually having more. I have students now going into gaming industry. We have now students going into all the different kind of digital art exhibitions, all the different kind of industry. Because what we are doing here is more than just all the different like architectural design. Okay, so again, why environmental designs? Why interior design? The difference, I think most of you will be asking, what's the difference between environment, what's the difference between interior? Actually, they are kind of related, but they are also very different. The most important thing is the scale, okay? Environment, very easy. Look outside, that's the environment. Look inside, that's the interior, okay? So while you are sitting here, the interior space, this is your interior, okay? How your fittings, how your furnitures, how your space, how your textures, even right now here, how the board actually works. Where are the doors, where are the windows, where are the structures? These are interior design, okay? Environment, that's a very different thing, because environment is about weather, okay? It's about the landscape, it's about the greens, it's about how the whole environment affects your interior. Okay, so the environment is much more of a bigger systematic focus. Okay, so you actually look into a very systematic, big framework to understand how the environment's interrelating. So when you are looking at environment, you're also looking at this building, like this our building as a whole, how the form affects the surrounding. Okay. Same thing again. Why EID? This is what I'm trying to tell you. Okay. We are now living in this digital era, okay? We are not just going to tell you to start drawing things. Yes, we have, because that's the foundation. But with the foundation, what can you do, okay? So right now, we have all the different technology. My research actually engaged with all this technology, okay? So some other, my colleagues, Daniel, Gerhard, Peter, Lahont, they are all also engaging in technology in a very different sense. Okay, so you will see that right now we are looking at this using 3D scanning. Okay, so you will realize that right now we have all this technology where we don't need to just really build models. We have technology to scan the building. Okay, so all the informations can be actually being collected into the digital model. Okay? So the thing is that we are not just designing space. We are also looking at reuse space. Okay? Look at Hong Kong. How many places you can do to actually build a building? You know, there's not much. I mean, I come from Singapore. You know, Singapore is also a small area. You know, we still have a little bit land here and there to build, but most of the time we are not building things from scratch. We are changing the environment. We are improving the environment. We are re-editing the space. Okay? And then when we re-edit the space, you have to, let's just say right now, I ask you, draw this Zaha building. Okay? You have to do measuring, you have to understand everything. But the fact that in the past, somebody already built it, you can use the dimension, you have used the technology and the information to try and do it. But you can also do scanning to actually get the information of what is happening right now at this stage. What the information you have in the previously is all about old data, is drawings, okay? But right now you have all this technology to help you to have a much more clearer, accurate, for you to be much more clear in your decision making in this design, okay? And then we have all these VR goggles, VR, okay, I don't call it goggles, VR headsets, okay? But the thing is, this technology is going to change, okay? As you can see right now, we have all these glasses coming out, okay? So just looking around, you have more than 50% wearing glasses, okay? Typical. You know, we are studying, you know, I'm wearing glasses, my degree is like 800, I'm like half blind already. So, but the thing is, you know, we have all this technology coming out. This technology is not going to be as simple as just the glasses, okay? If I'm going to be much more ambitious, these glasses is going to take over your mobile phone very soon, okay? Because this glasses is going to have all your mobile phone capability in a very, very short amount of time, in the next 2 to 3 years. Right now, it can do translation. Right now, you can do video recording. Right now, you can share your Facebook and everything through your glasses. But sooner or later, everything is becoming very smart. The only problem right now is battery and, you know, the heat. Okay, chips are going to get smaller. So the thing is that we, as a spatial designer, we as an environmental and interior designer, we still have to understand technology, because technology is going to affect us on how we design the space, how we use the space, and how we actually understand the people inside the space. And of course, we have AI, okay? AI is definitely going to be something. Why? Simple, okay? We are not going to talk about AI in like 2D generation and everything. Yes, we have to do that in a way, but that doesn't help that much. But AI is going to change things a lot, because AI can do image to 3D very soon. Okay? Right now, there's a little bit. People are using it in the game industry, but architecture not yet much. Okay? But sooner or later, AI is going to actually help us in 3D modeling, which is going to be much more faster in how we generate, you know, all the digital content. So in 3D scanning, this is one of the examples of a 3D scanned point cloud model. This is done by Daniel, our year 2 coordinator, and then also our program leader. And so, you know, we actually do advanced surveying, we do fabrication, we do visualizations, okay? So 3D scanning is very important because there's a lot of things which is needed, you know, how we actually use this to understand our living environment. And then there's something which, if you haven't actually seen VR, this is what we actually do, okay? The understanding of VR is that it is totally virtual, okay? But this is something which is actually very mixed reality. Okay, wait, where is it? How do I play? Okay, good. So this is what you see. This is the headset. But inside the space, you can see that right now there's a digital content sitting based on the settings. You can see how I actually sit with the bar. You can actually see how you know, the content is actually seen. So you are actually adding a digital, you know, content inside the real environment. You have to understand your living space before you can add this. This is fun, trust me, this is very, very fun. You can add a lot of different things. You can start to create games, you can start to create all these different kind of things inside. But the thing is, if you want to do this, you have to understand the real environment first. You have to understand what is the problem, what we can do with this living environment. Then we start to play this kind of objects. Okay, so this is And then, like I said, it's AI. So in year 3, I was also exposed to AI. The idea is that AI is not about just image generation. AI is helping you to derive narrative, okay? You need to understand that a space is not functional. We are designers. If you're just talking about functional space, yeah, you can ask engineers to actually design the engineering space. Because why? A toilet needs, a kitchen needs stove to cook. A bedroom needs a bed to live. But there are a lot of intangible atmospheric kind of design, which you, if you want to have a spatial designer, is something which you, as a designer, needs to understand. So, by generating through AI, okay, it's not about just generating nice images. It's generating images where the spatial context is something much more you, as a designer, can narrate it much more clearly. So you, as a designer, can understand what do you mean by all this different. From a Hong Kong context to an AI generator, what does it mean? How does it translate? And then from there, through this narration, then you start to design your architecture, your building, your space. And then yes, this is the one which I told you about the algorithm, the coding design. Okay, so this is Grasshopper. So you will design not through drawing. You have to think mathematically. Okay, so the idea is that you will actually learn how to actually design through this. Basically, mathematical generations of the design. So there is now a possibility that you can derive this kind of design without even drawing a line. Okay? All you need to do is just code it. And you can generate the designs automatically. Okay? And that's where I start to look into, give you all examples of how to create complex space. Okay? So with this, you can derive this, automatically. So you don't need to build this. Trust me, it's impossible to build this by hand. Okay, you can build it manually, but the complexity is not that complex. Okay? So the idea is that right now, if you are looking into a space, the fact that you are sitting here, there's a certain kind of about the space, about the environment which you are trying to understand. Okay? If you can actually go to a space and you can feel something. So let's just say you go to a church. Okay? If it gives you goosebumps, okay? By 6 sense, you actually can feel the space. And then if you go to a place and you can actually sit there from day to night without moving and observing how the space change. This is something which is very important. Because we as a designer, after even we design a space, we want to understand how users use the space. Precedent study is not about just looking at images. It's not about just looking at videos. You have to actually immerse yourself inside that space. Imagine right now you are in this building, okay? Explore, observe. How is everybody moving the space? Is the flow, the right way? Or is there a lot of all this circulation which is crashing each other? Okay? Or is there some kind of space which when you look at it, is in a weird dimension such that it cannot be used? In our professional term, it's called dead space. Okay? So actually, Zaha got a lot of dead space. So you want to look into how all these different environments, and every time the buildings, the environment is very important. The human inside the space is very important. Okay? And then you have to understand how during the day and night space change, the function change. Okay? So for environment interior, it is very important that you understand what we are doing here right now is to actually think about how we actually look at our built environments. And like I said, right now we are looking at a lot of different things from architectural to space. Okay? Architecture is the built environment. Okay? It's the building you see around you. It's all the infrastructure you see around you. That's what in architectural departments, when I was studying, we are looking at all the different kind of building structures. We are looking at how the buildings can work in a very functional way, in a way where we learn how to engage with engineers. Okay? But here, you not only do that, yes, you have to learn a little bit of engineering things, but not as deep as architecture. But the idea is that how do you actually look at space, okay? And what is space? Think about it, okay? This is a question which everyone have different answers, all right? So, architecture to space, but the most important thing is to engage people and culture. Because space is for people like you, okay? It's for people for different functions. I can ask you, think about it. Right now, we are in this era of, we call it modernism. Okay, this building, okay, this Zaha building. The first look of it, does it look like a school? Okay, the identity of space right now is already not there as much as in the past. A school can look like a school. A hospital looks like a hospital. Shopping mall looks like a shopping mall. So the identity of space is something which we as a designer, is something we need to define clearly, okay? So how do we actually engage the space, through people and culture? Right now when you go to another country, okay, without the people, the architecture looks like it can sit in Hong Kong as normal, okay? The place can look like Hong Kong, then look like Copenhagen, can look like every different place. It is the people which give you the sense of the space, okay? So it is very important that as a designer, we actually engage the people and the culture, and we look at how the space actually engages us. And so if you are an independent thinker with a strong sense of space, and you want to become a design leader, come to us, okay? So the idea is really, how you actually think. But like I said, yes, of course we would like to have people with already a very strong background of space and everything. But if you are not, okay, you are like, I don't know, right now everything's, I also don't know this, don't know that, and everything. All you need to do is to look at magazines, okay? And if you can kind of understand and figure out, how all this magazine, and you have some idea and you think about it, all these images of architecture on space and everything give you a certain kind of emotional excitement, okay? Yeah, then come to us. Okay, the idea is that we will teach you how to understand the space, how you as a designer will convey space and describe space, okay? So we are looking at the environments where we are creating environments, hopefully to, engage and, affect people. And if you want more information, we have introductions, videos, through introductions, these are all the videos which you can actually get it. And yeah, that's it for me on my side. And if you want to have more questions, you can ask, and you can ask in Cantonese, you can ask in Chinese, you can ask in English. Okay, I only have 3 languages, huh? Okay, yeah. But yeah, feel free to ask. But other than that, yeah, do you want to know more about what from EID, what we do, what we have, or anything? Yes. Sorry? Yes.係，但係你話要考咩 IELTS 啊？呢個你係喺香港嘅學校定係邊度嘅學校？香港學校，如果你個學校過嚟嗰陣時已經係證明佢嗰個學校係 English as the main medium of language， 呢個就應該唔使。係啊，我通常知道要考 IELTS 嘅話係嗰啲內地生或者去外國嗰啲意大利生啊，嗰啲唔同嘅其他地方嗰啲人，因為佢哋嗰個國家佢哋嗰個語言唔係英文，所以佢哋過嚟嗰陣時就要考。係啊 ，OK。No, nothing. Okay, good. Then yes, you have some questions. Okay, no, okay, it's good. Yeah, you are happy, you want to go. Okay, good. Thank you very much. I'm still here if you want to ask any questions, but yeah, hopefully you all come to the idea. Thank you.